Gretchen Anthony, and I am here for our another Tuesday night edition of the Just Gotta Laugh Book Club. And we seem to have lost my guest. Her screen has gone blank.
I'm
Carol
here.
Ann, are you there?
Yes, I'm
Let
here.
me refresh and see if that helps.
Hi,
Are we there? You are.
Yeah. What happened? Where'd I go?
I don't know. No, you just disappeared for a minute.
Okay, we're good. We're good.
So, yeah. So
it had nothing to do with that. You're good?
We're having some streaming issues. Ooh.
Can you see me? Host chat.
Okay, are we back?
I'm here.
Yeah, it's weird. We're having like streaming issues. So I'm going to just type and say, hi, everyone. Okay, so hopefully we are live on the Facebook page.
I don't know. I'm looking.
Okay, yeah, looks like we are. So Carol Ann, thank you.
Hi.
Welcome. It feels like I always have a little bit of technical issues at the beginning. Okay, great. Okay, great. We're getting some comments that we're here.
Great. Awesome.
This is so great. Okay, so Katie is here, Lori is here, Bethany's here, Evie, sorry, I'm not quite sure which, is here, Renee is here, Elizabeth is here, my friend Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Well, yeah, this is so terrific. So Carol Ann, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled. I'm very excited.
Well, this was so fun. So by way of explanation for everyone who's joining us tonight, Carol Ann, you are a librarian by profession, but so much more. You have your own podcast. You have book clubs that bring out the troops. I am not kidding.
I'm lucky.
So the Merrick Public Library in New York. Do you want to tell everyone where that's located in general?
Sure. So Merrick Library is in Nassau County, which is on Long Island in New York. So we have the luxury of being in Nassau County right now, where the Merrick Library is. I'm about 9-10 minutes away from Point Lookout, which is right on the ocean. So it's pretty nice. So we can get to the beach quick from here. It's beautiful. Not great during hurricane season, but we're not talking about that right now.
No, we are not.
We're not going to talk about that. I see Mary Jean is here. Hi, Mary Jean. Hi, Kelly.
Yeah, hi, Kelly. This is terrific. I love it. So, Carol Ann was one of the first podcasts I think that I was on, because you run your own podcast, Top Shelf at Merrick Library, right?
Yep.
That's what it's called. And I'll include a link at the end. But Top Shelf at Merrick Library. And you were one of the first people to interview me about long form, about Evergreen Tidings from the Baumgartners.
Love that.
And it was such a fun conversation. It was really fun.
It was great. And I remember reading the book as a galley, and it came at just the right time. I remember looking, sort of window shopping through the galleys, because one of the things librarians get to do is we get access to these wonderful galleys. And that title, I thought, well, I understand that title. What could this possibly be? Maybe I heard a little sarcasm. Maybe I heard a little irony. And I said, I am in. I read it a second time, and then immediately said, would you like to come on my podcast? And you said yes to the dress. So this is however many years later, here we are.
Yeah, it was fun. And then I've done your book clubs. And
that's great. Yeah, you had a big turnout. You had like almost 52 people, 50, something like that. You had a big turnout.
Well, you were telling me that you have an online book club starting, and you have like 50 some people already signed up.
Yes, that's tomorrow night on my Zoom through the Merrick Library. And talk about technical problems. We don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not allowed to have any of this either.
Well, sometimes that helps and sometimes it
might. That's right. Could be a bane or a boon. We'll figure that out.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm excited. It'll be nice because the patrons really need to see each other and reconnect during this time. Nassau County has been really going through a tricky time right now, and we're certainly suffering. So it's nice to be able to get out and or stay home and do all that.
Yeah. Is the library able to open up and do curbside deliveries, or how are you handling that?
Because we're in a high infection zone, we are not able to do that now. So all of our content is being pushed through social media sources, every Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our homepage. So we're pushing a lot of the online resources that people can access books. So anything that they can, like Hoopla is something they don't have to wait for. They can just get the book and start reading it. So all of my book discussions will be for titles that patrons don't have to wait for.
Yeah, that's terrific.
Yeah,
That's
it's
terrific.
great. It's great. I'm excited.
And then you do a Friday afternoon half
my
happy
gosh,
hour.
we're going to
I
talk
never get
about that.
right.
So
Happy
it's
half hour, right?
Right. So on the Facebook page for Merrick Library on Friday evenings, I host what's called a happy half hour, UBYOB. And that can be your BYO beverage, bring your own book. And we talk about books, and we talk about movies, and we talk about what's happening at the library. And it started out as a half an hour, and now we're almost up to an hour. And so I bring something called Dr. Pepper, and I ask the patrons what people are imbibing, and it's just a great time, and everyone just has a lot of fun. And sometimes authors, will come in on the chat and start chatting with patrons, which is really great. It's really fun. So if anyone's interested and you're not doing anything, of all the choices and all the things you could watch on television, happy half hour on Friday night is not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, seriously. Tell everybody what time it is again.
It's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Right.
Or as we say, New York time. So
we were saying, when we were on video earlier, we were saying, if you do it all because you have a Brooklyn accent originally.
I have a Brooklyn accent, yes.
Yeah. I was saying I do it all my Minnesota accent.
I love that. That's amazing. That's amazing. Although in my podcast, every once in a while when I'm editing, I hear myself do the flat A and I'm like, oh God, well, forget about it. Don't worry. It's okay.
Forget about it. Yeah, exactly.
Forget about it.
It's part of your charm. It's a part of our charm.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
That's what I say.
So yeah, happy half hour, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Merrick Library Facebook page. So everyone is welcome. We talk about books, what you're reading, what you'd like to read, what you read that you loved, and we go from there. It's really great.
That's awesome.
So thanks for mentioning it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. My cousin Matthew never misses, which is
cousin Matthew.
Awesome. Someday I'm going to make a bingo game once we've had enough of these, and he's going to have to be like a square that you automatically get if cousin Matthew.
I love that, and
up.
I've seen him on previous ones, so I actually recognize. I'm like, oh, I know him. I don't know his name, so I feel like I know. Right.
Donna's here. Hi,
Donna. Oh yeah. Hi, Donna.
And Jody's here.
Jody, shout out. Mary Jean from Merrick. There she is.
Yes.
Hooray.
Karen is here. Oh my gosh, we're having a great turnout. You turned out the troops.
Good group. Well, it's a team effort, right? There's no I in team.
That is the kind of library community, though, that is it's perfect. I don't know. You have a real community there. So cheers to you.
Oh, I'm going to do this instead of the other thing. I don't want to support a specific brand.
Oh, because it's Cinco de Mayo.
Correcto. I'll do a quick little. There you go.
Clink.
Anybody who missed that, sorry.
My next book was supposed to come out this day, and then it got moved to May 15th, and then it got moved to July.
You mean this?
That book? Yes.
Look at this beautiful thing right here. And you know what? It smells great. It smells so good. It's full fresh pages. There's only one person who's read it, me. My kids do want this, but I'm not letting them have it yet because I've marked it up and put my little notes in there. So
you're so sweet. You're so sweet.
So yes, I was holding it near and dear.
It makes me happy when people enjoy them.
Yes. So
but tonight we're going to talk about Fredrik Backman, who seems to churn out, what do you think, like a book a year?
So it's interesting because look at me coming with graphics.
Wow.
So this one right here, nope, that
Uh-huh. Oh, that's right. My grandmother told me to tell you I'm sorry, right?
was, yes. I thought I had
Or
them
asked me.
underneath, but I don't. They were a couple of years between each other. So my grandmother asked me to tell you I'm sorry, actually leaves off with BRITT-MARIE. So BRITT-MARIE picks up in her own book, and I'm so glad he did that, because then you get if you've read that book, you don't have to read the first one, but it's just nice that he did that. And then, of course, we've got this one coming out in September from Atria. That's his new one. And it's about a bank robbery that goes horribly wrong. Only the way Fredrik Backman could do that.
We had Pamela Klinger-Horn on here last week, and she was terrific. And she was saying that is probably one of her favorite books that he's written, that it's hysterical.
It is hysterical. And it's funny, when you first approached me and said, you want to be on, and I said, yeah, that'd be amazing. I was talking to my daughter and I said, which book, when I was looking at what book, and she said, Mom, she's like, you got to go on and talk about this.
Oh, yeah. When
So
you
I
and
was
I were
thrilled when
talking
you
about
said it.
books, I mean, we both grabbed onto that one right away. Yeah.
It was great. So I'm glad for my daughter recommended. She goes, why don't you all ask if you can talk about that one? So it was perfect timing. And Bachman is just so, also I love the Beartown stories. So
Yeah.
unbelievable work that he does there, just beautifully written. And with BRITT-MARIE, why don't you tell everybody what it's about?
Okay, well, I promised I would start giving a synopsis of the books, because I have always said that we have a very low barrier to entry in this book club. It's extremely exclusive in that you have to be able to find the link on Facebook, and you have to bring a beverage. That is our barrier to entry. So if you are here, you have met those exclusive requirements. But I do not require that you read the book. I'm just happy to have you here. And so my friend, or a writer colleague of mine, Laura, pinged me today, and she said, would you mind giving a synopsis so we're not lost? And I thought
Great
that was a
idea.
brilliant idea. So thank you, Laura. All right. If I miss anything, let me know. So BRITT-MARIE, last week we talked about Eleanor Oliphant. And it's funny that we followed it up with BRITT-MARIE, because they're both these characters that are prickly and set in their ways at the beginning of the book. And at the beginning of the book, she has left her husband. Her husband has a heart attack, and she learns about his heart attack from the woman he's having an affair with. She calls to say that he's in the hospital with a heart attack. And BRITT-MARIE actually does something that seems really contrary to her character right away. And she leaves him. And she leaves him and gets gets a hotel room for herself, and marches in the next day to the unemployment office, and won't leave the unemployment woman alone. She invites her to dinner. She shows up the next morning right away, the poor woman. And then the woman gives her her cell phone number, and BRITT-MARIE calls her at all hours of the night and day. Anyway, so she hounds this woman enough to get a position, and it turns out to be in a very small town of Borg in rural Sweden, and it's really poor, and it's been hit hard. As a Minnesotan, I kind of picture it as somewhere like up in the Iron Range. I know that every region in the United States or around the world probably has their Borg. It's somewhere that just the economy never catches up to it. In terms, it always hits it hard when the economy flounders, but prosperity never catches up to it. Is that sort of how you picture Borg?
Yep, that's exactly right. I can't think of a town. I mean, there's a bunch of towns on Long Island. I won't call them out, but yes, that is exactly right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the people, stick with it, and they have a community, and they're hardy. And so she ends up with a temporary job there to go and oversee the recreation center. And while she's there, she meets all the town's colorful characters and gets roped in. My cousin Matthew saying Clarissa, the town he grew up in. Yeah, a little bit like that, maybe.
Yes, Matthew Pacifico.
she gets wrapped up in helping coach the youth soccer team there, or football is really, being in Sweden, they call it by its proper name, the football team. And it changes her. It changes her entirely. And over the course of the book, she has to loosen her very strict guide, rules about life. And her husband tries to woo her back, and she has to make some important decisions for herself. And she faces down an armed robber.
Which is amazing, that scene.
Yes, there's a murder and there's everything. It's one of the things that amazes me about writers like Fredrik Backman is these are subtle characters. There's not a lot that's happening in this book from page to page, and yet you fall in love with her from the very beginning. And the opening scene of this book is her resorting the flatware drawer in her hotel room or wherever she was. Maybe she was at the unemployment office.
Yes.
But in her world, the flatware has to be in a specific order because otherwise it makes no sense. Yeah. And from that point on, she's going to be odd, and she's going to be hard to, and there are these things that all throughout, she has this rat that she ends up feeding.
And he leaves you those clues, right? So Bachman leaves,
yeah,
like, that she's organizing this, the flatware drawer, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, so she needs control over something because maybe she doesn't have some somewhere else, right? So he's dropping these. If you're a Bachman reader, you know that he's going to do this. And so I feel like there's always comfort when you pick up a Bachman book because okay, I'm going to be in for a enriching experience. I'm going to find out how this person changes. I'm going to find out how BRITT-MARIE goes from A to Z and watch that development. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. She does it incredibly well.
Yeah, he really does. And I think novels like this hook us too because we all know a BRITT-MARIE. We're not close to her necessarily, unless she's someone in our immediate family or whatever. But I think we all know a BRITT-MARIE in a lot of ways. And it's written from her perspective so we can get in her head a little bit. And what were your impressions of the book? And did I miss anything on the synopsis?
No, I think that's great because we don't want to give away too many things because if there are people who haven't read it yet, you're in for such I say it's joyous because everything that happens in this book is life, right? And so Bachman calls out things and feelings that we have, and we relate to them, even if you're not BRITT-MARIE, even if you're not Eleanor Oliphant, even if you're not Olive Kittredge, right? I feel like there's this pattern to these women. I almost feel like it's about Mrs. Baumgartner. Like, I feel like these women are trying they're either trying really hard, but you relate to them, you understand, you get their feelings, you get their joys, you get their trepidation. And he really builds fear into BRITT-MARIE but she plows forward, right? She's what I wrote down a note here, that she has such resolve. And you can't really tell from outward, the kid's perspective, say, or somebody's perspective, even Kent's perspective, right? They don't see her as being fearful.
No.
You look at me and think, wow, she's this or she's that. But, 10 minutes ago, I was like kissing my kids, go, wish mommy luck. Because you get nervous, you get fearful. Am I going to bounce? Mom, is my hair going to look, silly things like that. But that's what's the beauty of BRITT-MARIE and what Bachman does is he brings you these characters, and despite horrible situations, there's always hope. He's always giving hope. And I just love that he does that.
I do too.
Yeah, everybody. And also, you don't always have to have that signed, sealed, and delivered happy ending, right?
No.
The Oliphant ends is beautiful because it's different. The way this book ends is beautiful because it's different. And I love that they don't tie it up in a nice little bow.
And there are so many. Okay, so let's get back to that. We have a question from Elizabeth. She wants to know if Bachman, would you say that Bachman is Ann Taylor-ish in his writing style?
Oh, I don't know.
He's similar to Ann Tyler in that he takes his books are all character studies, and Ann Tyler's a lot like that.
I feel like Stuart Onan is more Bachman-like.
Yeah.
A deep dive character development, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes, Ann Tyler, but I think more Stuart Onan.
Yeah. That's probably true. But yeah, I mean, in that maybe Ann Tyler-ish in that he's a subtle writer, but he's a really
Correct.
powerful writer. Yeah. And I love that you were going, I mean, we're not going to give away the ending, but there are so many points in this book where as a reader, I kept anticipating she's going to go with this choice here. And in a way, I was a little bit disappointed because I thought, well, that's the obvious choice. But then as a reader, you second guess yourself and you think, well, if that's the obvious choice, then obviously the author is going to go, if I think she's going to go right, he's going to go left. And then that'll be a little bit more satisfying. And then Bachman finds a completely different route.
Right.
And it happens like 3 different times over the course of this novel. What was it that you said today about the point in chapter 9 where he says,
oh, right, and there's a point in I think it's chapter 9 or chapter 10. I can't remember exactly which one, but he has this neat trick where he says, at the beginning of one of those chapters, he says, and that's how it all happens. And then things really begin in earnest because at the end of the chapter, he says, and that's how it all begins.
yes.
And sits back and says, oh my God, we just went through all this. Now what's going to happen? So he gives you this whole backstory before he actually even gets to the story.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like backstory. It feels like action.
Because he does, that's right. So, and I just see what Kellyanne is saying here. There are quirky characters like Ann Tyler, especially her early work. And I'm thinking specifically of Stuart Onan. I think of Emily Alone, which is, I just love that book to the moon and back. It has Emily has the same sort of internal dialogue that BRITT-MARIE is having. She finds herself in this situation and she's like, oh, shoot, now what? So and quirky people and relatives and probably not unlike Cousin Matthew. I don't know, I'm guessing.
Cousin Matthew, are you my quirky family? You'll have to tell.
I haven't met him, so we'll be the judge of that. But the other thing is that BRITT-MARIE has this, BRITT-MARIE speaking says, life is more than the shoes that your feet are in.
Yeah.
And that comes into play with what you just said, Gretchen, about all the choices that what choices she has in front of her. So more than the shoes that your feet are in, and it's more than the person that you are. That's life. Oh my gosh. I mean, I underlined it, scored it, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful part in the book. And the other thing that's really, and it's humorous, right? So all of these things are going on. Life is happening to her very quickly. But so you've got the rat and the dinner, right? Someone mentioned that up in the chat here.
Renee said, I love the rat with the Snicker bar.
And she's chatting.
For those of you who haven't read the book yet or haven't gotten to that part, she befriends a rat in the recreation center that she's taking care of. And she feeds it a Snicker bar, which in Borg is actually very hard to come by. They're like smuggled in kind of by somebody. That is the name of the character. Her name is actually Somebody, which I love. I love Bachman and his ability to just those little subtleties. But she has these extended, let's talk about the rat for a second. She has these extended conversations with the rat. And one of the things that she does right away is she informs the rat that dinner is at 6:00.
She does.
The rat is expected to be on time because she will be on time. And doesn't she serve the rat the Snicker bar like on a plate?
Yeah, absolutely.
She cuts it into pieces.
And
so Bethany is saying she loves Somebody. I love Somebody too. That was a great character. So I'm curious what you, Carol Ann, we'll start with what role you think the rat plays, and then I want to hear from readers too what they thought about the rat and why they think
you and I talked about it.
A rat counterpart. Why do you think he gave her a rat counterpart?
Well, I think who's the rat? Kent.
Kent is the rat. Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't know. Maybe somebody has a different opinion. But she's used to serving dinner at a certain time. She's used to Kent coming home at a certain time. He's very organized, and it's a nice plate of food, candy. I'm all for candy for dinner if I could get away with it. Waistline otherwise. These are our struggles. But so in my mind, I thought, wow, how funny is that it's a rat and she's having these conversations. She doesn't have these conversations with her husband.
No, she doesn't. Bethany says dinner at 6 is very Violet Baumgartner.
Yes, it is. Yes, Bethany, you were right. I love Violet. I just do. I have to figure out who would play her in the movie.
I want Catherine O'Hara. That's who I really
That'd be
want.
amazing.
Yeah. So Renee, let me show this. Renee says she agrees that Kent is the rat. Same with dinner with the employment gal. Oh, yes. And that relationship.
That's a great relationship, Renee. I agree with you. That's a really sweet thing, the way it sort of turns around between the two of them. It's really nice to see that.
You know, it's interesting. I got to thinking about the rat today while I was in the backyard. And we have these traps out. Our backyard backs to open space, and so we have these live traps out. Otherwise, we'd get wildlife in our house. And I was thinking about the rat today, and it's really interesting. It struck me that she comes across at the very beginning as being so judgmental of people, but she's not really judgmental of people as who they are as human beings. She's judgmental of behavior. So if the rat shows up on time at 6 o'clock every day and fulfills her expectations, that's perfectly fine. She doesn't care that he's a rat.
Right.
You
It's
know?
a sort of a respect kind of a thing. It's a
I guess so.
respect kind of thing. I feel like especially when she realizes that the boy is going to go out on a date and he wants his hair fixed, and she doesn't quite know who he's going out on a date with. And then I think it's Ben is his name. And then Ben's date shows up, and the reader knows exactly what's going on there. But then when the date shows up, it adjusts her. She's like, well, you know what? It doesn't matter who this person is. You love who you love. And
because it turns out it's a boy. So
yes.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't like the way your hair is combed and he doesn't say how nice your hair looks, then he's not worth your time. And I thought, oh my God, BRITT-MARIE, I love you.
I know.
Try reading it without a box of these.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit of a tearjerker.
Yeah.
The title too,
right?
It didn't strike me until the very end, the meaning of the title. I love. I'm a sucker for a good title.
Mm-hmm.
And BRITT-MARIE Was Here. It strikes you that all she wants to do is be noticed. Like, she does everything to not be noticed. She cleans obsessively, almost as if she wants to erase her existence, but she wants her behavior and her perfection to be noticed. Her mother, didn't she say that her mother never really paid any attention to her? And Kent certainly doesn't pay any attention to her.
Right.
And
there's a scene where, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's her cleaning. It's almost as if like she erases any sign that she ever existed. But the fact that she goes to that small town and she makes her mark, and we won't go into all the ways that she makes her mark, but then you get to the very end and he says, people can always say BRITT-MARIE was here. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's just, oh my God. I apologize to everybody on this Facebook Live right now who I may have spoiled anything, but please, I'm not spoiling everything. Just go, you got to read the book, because there is that scene where Banks tells the kids, she's sort of training them how to do the, in the soccer match. And she says to the kids, listen, you have to talk to each other, because if you can hear each other, it means you exist. And she whispers to herself, I'm here. I am here. And, I'm a mess. I mean, I'm an absolute mess. And that's why she loves the map so much, because the map shows her where she is, that she's here, shows her where she is on the earth. And
I forgot about the map.
and we
Yes.
all want to know where we are. And just in general, that's humanity. That's people, right? That's me. That's, I don't know about you, but that's me. You want to know that people care for you. You want to know that people think about you. And that's not vanity. That's just because you're a human and you want to know that you've touched someone in some way or that you matter to people. And Kent sort of doesn't quite come up to snuff that rat.
Well, and I would admit that's probably one of the reasons authors write. I know in my head, I thought, am I going to leave a mark on the world? And of course I'm going to leave a mark. I'm leaving my children. I'm raising children, and thankfully they're wonderful human beings.
Knock wood. Right?
I know. But yeah, you think about that kind of thing, and it's a little bit vain to say, well, I'm going to leave my books, but I think we as human beings, we have that need to feel.
I think as a writer, you have
something.
As a writer, you have something to say. And as a reader, we want to listen to that. So that's why something like Evergreen Tidings has such an impact. And this, I'm going to keep doing that. But that's that impact, right? You have that impact. And that's what I think he's saying in all of his books, that these people, they have, everybody matters. It's really nice to know you're not alone, that there are people out there who are here for you.
Maybe that's one of the things that draws people to Backman too, besides all of his obvious talents, is that so many of the books that are out there are about people who have made, they have big careers, or they've made big marks on the world, and they've suddenly gotten, in trouble or whatever. But he writes about ordinary people who matter. They matter.
They think that they don't. They think that they don't. Matthew, you do. I can see what
Matthew doesn't feel the need to leave a mark. Well, Matthew just touched my life. You've left a mark in a good way. So Kelly is saying British author Frances Maynard also writes characters a bit similar, but are on the spectrum or with learning disabilities. That's interesting. She works with adults with these issues, and it shows up so poignantly in her writing. Frances Maynard. I don't know if I've read Frances Maynard. I'm going to have to check that out, but thank you for that. That's awesome. Matthew's saying, I do what I can when I'm here, and that's enough for me. That's good.
And that's okay, Matthew.
Yeah, that's okay. Before we start to wrap up, I want to hear, are there other things that people want to talk about with the book? I know that Renee in particular was a huge fan of this book and was so excited that we were reading it. Okay. Renee is up and talking. She says, I read a man called Uva, and such a wonderful book, and same type of characters making a mark in their own small way. Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, I forgot, BRITT-MARIE Was Here is a movie, and I watched 2 weeks ago. I almost forgot to mention that. So it is, I think I saw it on, I don't know if I'm allowed to say where I saw it. It's on a streaming service. I don't know if I'm allowed to say where it was, but go look for it. It is a Netherlands movie. I don't know if it was the same movie company as A Man Called Uva, but it's great. I mean, it leaves out a lot of stuff, but just to be able to see the characters, and the woman who plays BRITT-MARIE was worth it.
Oh, that's good, because when that main character is off, the whole movie's ruined for me. Okay. Renee, we have to warn Renee though, because you did tell me about the movie earlier. Renee loves the character Somebody. And in the movie, did you say he's a Greek man?
It's a different, yes, it's not the Somebody that we know.
Which is so sad. Why did they change that character?
I don't know, because that's really a lot of funny, there's a lot of funny things that Somebody does, the face down and the silverware drawer. I mean, and
that character has everything going against her. Yeah. One of the things I love about her, she doesn't even have a name. She doesn't even have a name. She's in a wheelchair. She doesn't speak the language. She doesn't even have a name. She struggles constantly with her business. She's in the Hawk, and yet she runs that town.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I love that. I love that book. I liked, Renee says, I liked how age was a theme that kept coming up and how she showed you can do something different, even if life has been a certain way for many years. Wow, that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she's
And
60,
it's very
right?
disappointed that it's a Greek man. Evie, sorry if I'm chopping up your name. I'd love to talk about Banks and what it was about, BRITT-MARIE that brought her around. That's a good topic.
That's a great topic. What do
What
you
do you think it
think,
was about
Evie?
Banks? Yeah, what do you think, Evie? Do you know Evie?
I don't think so.
Okay, I don't know Evie either, so we're gonna find out what Evie has to say. Banks, she was another favorite character. I loved that scene where for those of you who haven't read the book, Banks
Right. I don't want to say too much.
owns
I
the
don't know
house.
this.
No, it's fine. She owns the house that BRITT-MARIE moves into as a renter. She rents a room from her, and she's nearly blind. She's had a degenerative disease, I think, with her eyes. And
Mm-hmm.
at one point, she offers
Yes.
BRITT-MARIE a ride to work. BRITT-MARIE's like, "Oh, how can you possibly drive?" And Banks is so funny. She's just like, "I don't. I was pulling you away."
Yeah, I was pulling her. She's really believing her. Yes, what she says, I think it was her commitment to the kids.
I think it was her commitment to the kids. Yeah, that's probably right. And Banks had a really terrible relationship with her dad, and to see that kids who could so easily have been left behind are cared for,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Yeah, maybe that was it. I did enjoy Banks. Okay, any other favorite characters before we start to wrap up?
And of course, Sven is so great, right? He
Sven is great.
brings her
Oh,
the little jam.
Evie says I got it. Ding, ding, ding.
Yes. Wait, hold on. Here's
Clink.
drink.
I did something right today. Woo!
You get the prize.
I get the prize. Thank you, Evie. I can go to bed feeling good. Um, well, Caroline, this has been a huge pleasure. While
Thank
people
you
are
so much.
throwing in their final comments, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you again and remind them about the times for all your
Oh,
goodies?
great. Yeah, and I won't, you can watch it again and get all that. But Facebook Live on the Merrick Library Facebook page on Friday nights at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do a happy half hour, but you guys might as well come at 4 because sometimes happy hour starts at 4. So please feel free to join me there. You can also find me at Top Shelf at Merrick Library podcast, where I had the pleasure of interviewing this lovely lady.
Oh, and your podcast is really good. You have so much fun.
We have a good time.
The podcast. Yeah.
Yeah,
So if
I
you love
appreciate
book podcasts, it's a good one. Oh, Vicky's
Yeah.
joining us too. Hello, Vix.
Hi, Vicki.
And then, okay. And then
and you
happy
can find me
hour.
on Twitter. Just look up Carol Ann Tack. It's very easy. That's my Twitter handle. It's just Carol Ann, CarolAnnTack. Easy enough. And I don't know where else you can find me. That's pretty much all my places.
Well, I'm gonna get ready to sign off, but
Okay.
I want to remind everybody we have such a great slate of books. We we have such a great slate of books coming up. Okay, so next week we have Renee Rosen with Park Avenue Summer, where she's
It's going to be great.
having
Great.
Helen Gurley Brown starting Cosmopolitan. Right after that, we have, I'm just going to forget about all these, To Have and to Hoax, which is a historical rom-com. And right after that, we have Kelly Harms with her brand new book. Her
Oh,
book,
that's going to be great.
If you loved The Overdue Life of Amy Byler, Kelly Harms has a brand new book coming out like next Tuesday. So I'm giving you a couple weeks to read it. And I've got, I'm going to miss somebody, but I've also got J. Ryan Straddle, who has been a big,
Unbelievable.
yeah, like a mentor and a supporter of me. And he jumped at the chance to be on in June, and that'll be great. We've done events before together, and it was really fun. So, but Carol Ann, it's so great to see you. Put that down. Okay, we are
what's the new pub date?
July 28th.
Okay.
Yes.
You heard it here first, folks.
Oh, Kelly Moore is a huge Kelly Harms fan, so she's going to
Yeah,
be there.
she's great.
Hopefully.
It's going to be great. You have an amazing slate. You guys don't miss it. This has been so much fun. I love Gretchen to the moon and back. And I'm glad I got to meet all these new people, Renee and your cousin, nephew.
We're having a great turnout every week. So thanks again, everybody, and stay tuned because I put together a little animation at the end for my outro. You'll have to tell me if you like it. All right.
Hey.
Take care, everybody.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
night.
Thanks for having me, Gretchen. Love you.
Love you.